Welcome, everyone, to the Skagit PUD Board of Commissioners meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, I would be looking for a vote on this consent agenda items 1 through 5.
I motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 5.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. We would now love to hear some audience comments from our friends who have come to share their thoughts. So please come on up. If you can, limit your comments to 3 minutes. Unless we grill you with other questions, especially you, Mr. Wisdom.
Hello, good afternoon. Tony Wisdom, Skagit Valley Farm. And Dave already gave me his 3 minutes, so I'll do the best I can. But I did write my comments down to try to keep them succinct and clear. So, it appears that the letter that we sent to you all and to some others may have created some concern and been received as threatening. So first, I want to reiterate on behalf of District 15, District 22, and Skagit Valley Farm that we are very grateful for everything that the PUD has done for our general community and the ag community in particular. Secondly, in no way were our comments or suggestions meant to be threatening, disrespectful, adversarial, or corrective in nature. If our letter generated any of those responses, we apologize. We're clearly working for the same thing. What we heard at the meeting 2 weeks ago caused some confusion on our part, and in a way, we wondered if something so critical to our industry was being threatened, and that we were being threatened. Collectively, we wondered if we were on shaky ground with the PUD, and if that was a misunderstanding on our part, our bad. We had concerns about some of the things that were said at that meeting, and because there were so many items of concern, we felt the best way to express them was to provide them in writing, to provide our comments back in writing. If there had only been 1 or 2 items of concern, we certainly could have and most likely would have reached out directly as a constituent to an elected board official or even to a PUD staff for clarification. But the totality of issues caused such alarm on our part, we chose to provide the feedback to you in writing. We felt that there were some inaccuracies or misrepresentations, unintentional to be clear, in some statements that were made, and that perhaps the PUD was considering an alternative course of action with regards to the seasonal changes that we have been cooperating on together for the last many years. This felt threatening to us and caused us to wonder if we were for some reason on shaky ground with the PUD, and if our plan of together working towards longer-term agreements for the supply of unpiped water through seasonal changes was being reconsidered. Again, we are grateful to have this wonderful working relationship with the PUD, and we appreciate the efforts that you all towards helping our wonderful Skagit ag community thrive long into the future. As our letter has invited, perhaps a good next step would be working session to provide substantive discussion opportunities surrounding how we together continue our great relationship, particularly as it pertains to seasonal transfers and water. Furthermore, for perspective, although the seasonal changes are codified with 3 entities, in fact, the impact of the seasonal changes is far beyond just 3 entities. There are over 30 farmers in District 15 and 22. Of course, Skagit Valley Farm stands alone. But together, we also are renting from over 280 different individual landlords with whom the farmers in those districts and Skagit Valley Farm work with. Thousands of employees with families, all of whom rely on the agricultural community for survival. Not to mention how all of the money associated with these groups trickles its way throughout the local economy and the regional economy. Lots of it, in part, is due to the seasonal transfer of water from the PUD. This backstop of water helps us put the finishing touches on our crops, allows us to continue employing our team members, and allows us to pay rent to our landlords, and in general, aids in creating the framework for extra success in our industry. Finally, and for the record, I hope I don't get in trouble for this, we are not in favor of a water market being established for the unpiped and available water to irrigators. Thank you.
Other comments? All right. Now we can go online. If you're online and you would like to make a comment, please use the raise your hand function and we'll call on you. Seeing mostly, can't really see on there. All right. We will now move on to old business. George.
All right. Thank you, commissioners. Good afternoon, everyone. I will update you all on a few things that are going on. The local AWWA Pacific Northwest subsection met last week at Sean O'Donnell's, and they held a few competitions to see who would compete at the section conference in Tacoma in May. So you may have seen on Facebook or other social media, but our Judy system water won the best tasting water contest. There were entries from Anacortes, Everett, and Bellingham as well. So that was good for us. That'll go on to Tacoma. And then Michael Ostergaard won the Meter Madness Challenge. Sorry, it's putting together meter as quick as you can. Michael's won it before too, so he's getting really good at this. So the water, Michael, and our top ops team will be going to Tacoma in May and competing. So that's great. Last week on Thursday, I spent most of the day up at Watcom PUD as part of an interview panel for their new general manager who's retiring in June. So if you happen to talk to any of the commissioners from Watcom PUD, that's what they've got going on right now. Update on what's going on with the building. So we have executed an agreement with Clay Learned for leasing the north end of the operations building. And I would predict you would see a sign out there probably pretty soon, making it available. We need to complete our roof and HVAC repairs, but the timing will hopefully work well for someone who also wants to maybe do some tenant improvements or make some changes inside the building while we're getting that project completed. So if summer works, that's a good thing, I think, for timing for us right now. Clay, I'm sure, will bring some options to us. Our new wayfinding signs are being fabricated. So we're talking about the large sign out on Freeway Drive and then a smaller sign along our driveway. And so we're hoping to have those installed hopefully in the next month or so. So that'll help our customers being able to get back here and being able to see the sign at night as well. There was an email sent out by Wapuda for their annual conference in Kitsap, I think towards the end of April. So if anyone's planning to attend, please let me know. We can work on noticing that for quorum if we have to. There's a general manager's meeting as part of that conference, so I'll be attending anyway. And tomorrow night, I will be at the Mount Vernon Council meeting providing a PUD update. And I don't know exactly what time I'll get to take the stand, but we'll see. They've had a lot of public comment lately. So I've got one other thing to talk about, but just in terms of that update, if there's any questions or comments, nothing? Okay. I just want to address one item that's in information. So it's the citizen request letter. It's agenda item number 9. So we received, there's 2 letters as part of that item. We received 2 letters that I guess I'm interested in feedback from the board. The letters are requesting that the board complete a feasibility study to expand our authority and provide retail electric service by acquiring PSE's assets. The letters assume incorrectly that we already own and operate the Baker River Dam facilities. So I think that's justification for the letters is that, well, we're not starting from zero. We already own all that, but we do not. So it was my plan to prepare a response letter on behalf of the board, based on your thoughts. So my inclination is to just correct the error as far as what we own and what we don't own. And unless anybody's interested, I wasn't planning on spending the money to do a feasibility study.
I think, sorry.
No. Yeah.
I think that was the biggest thing that when I read those letters was the ensuring that we respond to the inaccuracies. And then also just as food for thought, there's a lot of comparison around Chelan County PUD rates and us. And just this, I know we don't need to go in the letter whatsoever, but just the thought that demand versus supply, and the supply, I mean, that's why Chelan County's rates are so low, is the excess supply. So, not that we need to get into that, but definitely at a minimum, addressing the lack of facts.
Well, and again, Joe, you first.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you, the lack of facts, and I think it just needs to be pointed out that we don't have any generating facilities.
No.
And that to me is what would give us the ability to even consider doing this. When it was done in Jefferson County, and was that 2008 or so?
Yeah. That was just taking over substations, poles, and wires.
Yeah, that's not the generation.
Yeah. So there's
looks like apples and footballs. It's not even apples and oranges.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah,
I have no appetite for a feasibility study, unless we can get the ag water guys to pay for it. But no, just kidding. We don't want to do that. So I don't see throwing good money after a bad idea at this point.
Yeah. The justification was through a couple of comparisons, one with Chelan, one with Jefferson, both of them not being relevant. And then the mistake about us owning the dam. So, okay.
Do you want a formal letter that we sign?
If it comes from the board president, as long as you guys are on board together.
Yeah. I mean, it was addressed to us, so we can answer for us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll work on a letter and then share it with you once it goes
Good.
up.
Please.
All right. Thank you.
Glad we don't own the Baker Dam.
There's a process for this. We went through it 20 years ago almost.
Almost.
Right.
Yeah.
And nothing has changed. Right. So, except for things are 20 times more expensive than they were 20 years ago. So.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. No, foreseen. All right.
And then I could add a couple of other things to update you on. Sorry, I turned the page. The new RO system for our potlatch system on Guimas Island was installed last week. So they pulled the old one out. It's sitting out in the yard. I can see from my office, and they put the new one in, and they should be making water this week. So turning that around within a week, 10 days, getting everybody out there was a huge accomplishment. And all the operations department should be proud of themselves, because it's good that we got them turned over that fast.
Just kind of a timeline on maybe commissioner tours. I really would like to see the final install.
Once we get it all going, then we can arrange something for sure. We are starting an applicant review process for the project manager position in the engineering department. So that's starting this week.
Is there a good response on that?
It was decent. We're not getting the 80 responses that we do for customer service or maintenance, but I think we have some good applicants.
Good.
And then if you've noticed, we have an open position now with the water treatment plant. We were notified of a retirement in July up there. So that is going to be our next priority. And then also included in information is a clip from the Water World magazine. Kevin wrote an article about Amelia, and she was featured as part of an issue about women in water. So that's what's in the information section is just one page. It involved a lot of responses to questions, and so they scattered it around a bunch of different links. So that's just one of them, but there's more than just that. But it's pretty neat that she was featured in there as well. Yeah, now I'm done.
There you go. All right. Sounds good. Jay, let's talk safety.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
I don't even remember the last time I stood up here and gave you guys an update, so this will be cool. So been a very busy year already. Some things haven't changed. This is the first year in 5 that we have the same safety committee members in 26 as we did in 25. So we got some continuity in the team this year, which is really neat. So that means we are able to hit January with our feet already making motion forward and not having to get new members up to speed. So we've been very busy. Real quick, I wanted to kind of share this with you. This is actually a lagging indicator of the PUD safety performance. I think every year I show you guys a version of this chart, and the experience modification rate is actually based on a 1.0 being neutral ground. So basically, if you're a brand new business in a particular industry, you start with a 1.0. And anything that you can do to bring your experience modification rate below 1 is a good thing, okay? And what this does is it takes your workers' compensation insurance premium and multiplies it against whatever your experience modification rate is, and that's what you pay, okay? So the lower we can get our EMR, the better it is on so many fronts, okay? So having a sub 1.00 is considered to be very good. As you can see from the trend line, we have been going down and down and down for many years now, and we continue to do so. Even with a little blip, our experience modification rate actually went up a little bit because we had a few claims in 2024 that carried over, but otherwise it's looking really good. So I just wanted to kind of share that we're having a nice sustained drop in our workers' compensation rates over the last several years. Is there any questions about that at all? It's a very complicated bunch of algebra that Labor and Industries and the Workers' Compensation Board uses to figure these things out, but it's all distilled right there in front of you.
When you say lagging, just how is that, a year, or is it just depending on when the claims are filed and completed?
It depends on when the claims are filed. It actually uses a 3-year reference point going backwards. So they give us our experience modification rates ahead of the year that we're going to pay, but it's still lagging because it takes into perspective 3 years worth of performance in order to calculate it.
So for 2026 premiums, the 0.6 was the multiplier, and then the 0.75 will be for 2027's multiplier. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. And then at kind of at the base of that, if you were to look at this is an even more of a lagging indicator, is actually our number of injury and illness claims that we use workers' compensation for. So you can kind of see there, we've held steady at 6 for quite a while per year. And then they just kind of dropped off. That could be due to a lot of things, but it also lends itself to that EMR. But this is definitely a lagging indicator. Obviously, we can't count the number of injury and illness claims until after the year is passed. And even then, it can still be adjusted many years in the future. So in 2022, we actually had 0 recordable injuries or illnesses, but we had several hearing loss issues that cropped back up from earlier on in 2022 that added themselves back in. So that's why for 2022, you see 6 claims up there. We didn't have any actual injuries from working. These were all things that were retrospectively added later on. Does anybody have any questions about that one? And again, we can see the trend line continuing to go down, which is also a good thing. All right. So some things that we've already, like I said, we've already hit the ground running in 2026, and we've already made a lot of improvements in the safety programs. 2 projects that we've already completed with streamlining parts of our training program, and also looking very critically at our chemical safety program as well. So those were 2 things that we wanted to address early this year and done a very good job doing so. So I'll start with our training program. One of the things that we had been doing for many years was using online training to help fill in competency gaps with several different working groups here at the PUD. We found that those they weren't giving our people the competency level that we would like to see, the depth of information that we would like to have seen. And also, it was actually remarkably interruptive to our work to give training in that way. We found that in-person training, tailored training, was definitely the way we wanted to continue to grow. So all of our core safety and occupational health information sessions are now held in person in one fashion or another, whether they're given by me or given by a vendor, whether it's done here at the PUD or whether we send somebody out somewhere to actually get the training. That's how That's how we're going forward with it, and it's been a success so far. As a result of that, we've been able to actually eliminate our contract for online training delivery. So we've been able to streamline some of that a bit. We've also improved and streamlined and optimized our online or our onboarding for our new personnel, so they can actually be more competent and equally qualified with the people that are working alongside them the minute they show up in the field. That's not to say that their experience doesn't lend something to them, but we also take into consideration people's prior work experience, prior trainings, and all those other features get boiled in with the other trainings that we might do. So another thing, again, like I mentioned before, the chemical safety program, we have this wonderful Laserfiche repository that we started using a number of years ago. And we had been paying for a separate repository to keep all of our safety data sheets in. And we just didn't see the sense in continuing to do that. So we transferred all of our SDS data over to Laserfiche and made it accessible to all of our employees. And then we trained our employees on how to actually access that from their PUD provided mobile devices, and it's worked out brilliantly. So that's just one small improvement that we made. And we continue to train employees and also teach them how to use the data that's in there. And as a result, we're also still conducting inventories of our actual chemical load. And we're finding it's a lot more accurate than we thought it was. So that's also good news. So we've been very busy going around to the different work groups, checking what they actually physically have in real life against what we have on inventory. And we're finding it matches up a lot closer than one might suspect. So these are all good things. So we've been very busy doing that as well. Some things that'll be ongoing are continuing. I've told you guys about this probably every year for about the last 6, is continuing to improve our confined space access. That's a never-ending thing. We have 1,200 last count confined spaces that require some form of safe access. Of those, roughly 400 to 500 require retrieval, or they need ladder improvements, something along those lines. So it's a lot of work, and we continue to plug away at it. So we're going to keep doing that. We also have lots of water tanks in our system that have fall protection considerations to think about. So I've been working at finding a way to prioritize improving water tank access, and we're going to go ahead and start doing that probably at the end of this year, and I'll get more into that here in a minute. And also, we want to focus on finishing our written safety programs for the PUD. So as you can see here, we have a picture of a couple of our folks actually installing a davit base at one of our newer vaults. That's the one up at 9th and Highland. And that's down in the hole down there is actually our part of our M-pipe PRV system. That's down there. So installing davit bases is a huge part of that, but also making sure that we have ladders that people can actually use is extremely important, and that are actually safe, not just installed, but actually functional. And then purchasing things that are a little more innovative, porta gantry, which I should have put a picture up here of, actually is a overhead portable gantry you can actually use for fall protection and also lift and hoist materials with. And it's the only device on the market that allows a user to do that. So we're going to be purchasing one for our distribution group next year. So that'll be part of that as well. And water tank improvements. This is actually a picture of one of our clear wells after it's had some improvements done already, including some fabrication to the top rail at the top edge of the tank. And you can see that post that goes all the way up the center of that ladder. That's actually part of a ladder safety system. And those are fairly aged. They require quite a bit of maintenance, and they also they have some issues of use. They can be very difficult to use at times. So we're going to be looking at replacing those rail ladder safety systems with cable-based systems this year. So we're going to start with the clear wells up at the treatment plant and kind of go from there. See and learn how to use them, learn how to install them, and use some outside help to figure out what the pitfalls and what the tricks of using them are, and determine whether or not that's something that we want to proliferate around the rest of the PUD, and if so, where. So we want to do a prioritized look at how we want to retrofit this type of equipment before we wholesale buy into it. And then while we're on top of these tanks, we also want to make sure we have fall restraint for people who are working on top of them. So we're going to work on that as well. Are there any questions about these two projects so far? All right. And in the written safety program, which I have been droning on about for years, we're almost done. We only have 6 written SPMPs left to go. 2 of them actually just hit George's desk this evening and are ready for policy team review. And we have 4 more that are either being drafted or formatted as we speak. And my goal is to have all of these done by the end of 2026 and fully adopted by 27. So that's my goal. And the safety committee has been extremely instrumental in making sure that these are put together in a way that makes sense and actually reflects the work that we do and improvements and keeps in mind innovation. And that's something that is scalable and will work for many years in the future. So we needed a good baseline, and our written programs are part of that. So this is what we've been busy doing, and we've got a lot more work to do. And in the meantime, are there any questions?
Just because I'm a nerd, the porta gantry system, do those have truck mount and davit mount, or are they just strictly just?
They are standalone.
They're standalone. So are they like tripod system or?
It's a quad pod if you want to go that way.
Okay.
It literally has 4 legs that cantilever out and hold up the entire rail for the gantry.
Nice.
And they can either be on wheels or they can be on legs. If you want more information, I can definitely send you some.
That's cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, Jay, if you back up, wasn't one of your pictures showing it?
No, I forgot to add one in there. I meant to
Not
do
that one.
Oh,
Is that it? Oh,
It is in
right
there.
on.
Thank you,
I was
George.
like that. You were
I
describing
blew right by it
something.
and didn't see it.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
Cool.
porta gantry. Thank you, George. So that's it. And that's the smallest one on the market. That one right there. That weighs about 81 pounds. And it folds down and you can drag it behind you. Fits in the bed of pretty much any truck. Pretty versatile. They're a little fiddly to put together. Lots of pins, lots of little screws and things you have to mess with. But very neat tool. Any other questions? All right.
No, thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Awesome. All right. Next item is the future temporary seasonal water rights transfers discussion.
All right, ready. So not so much of a discussion, I guess. What is in the packet is a proposed schedule. So based on a lot of the discussion we had, including Tony's comments from tonight, just kind of, we need more information. I think just to approach this correctly, we want more time to gather information. So what is in the packet is a proposed schedule for us to continue discussing the water rights transfer program and eventually come to an agreement on a new policy. So in this schedule, so I'd like your feedback on this. So this is draft. At the next meeting, we'd like to discuss, like, starting from the beginning, kind of goals and a policy structure so that we have a framework to which to have our discussions. I think that's important. Rather than just getting to ideas and suggestions and solutions, we should take a step back and kind of look at our objective in doing this. So, you know, the discussion doesn't need to be really long in any of these, but just to break it up. So that was the thought for the next meeting. At April 28th, again, if acceptable, I think that might be a good time to do a work session with invested stakeholder input. There's a variety. We've got, you know, the people that are here today. We've got regulators. We've got tribal interests. We've got we've got numerous stakeholders, and I think it'd be good to get their input. So that would be my plan for that April 28th meeting. And then it's a guess on, you know, discussion over a couple of meetings and maybe getting to a draft. But the goal would be by June, maybe July, to get to an approved policy that then we can get into what the exact program would be. So just to take it a little bit slower and methodical and make sure that we're kind of addressing the concerns from everybody and kind of building a foundation to which to come to a decision. So this was, you know, Bill's been working on this, and this is the schedule that we've been discussing internally. And if it's okay with everybody, I'm interested in your feedback. If you have any suggestions or ideas about this, and then we can adjust as necessary.
Fine with me.
I think if desired, I think for me, I think that should be a requirement. Should be
The stakeholder input?
Yes. I've been thinking about this a lot lately as far as, was diving into our policy and our strategic plan and all of this. And one thing that stood out to me and really was emphasized today while listening to the FERC relicensing conversation again through the county was this idea of one Skagit. And I know as, in our strategic plan, very much so points to one Skagit within
the organization.
Within our organization. But the more I asked George, I was like, what is this one Skagit thing? And the more that I thought about it, I heard Jenna and Will and other people giving public comment today for the FERC relicensing was this idea of Team Skagit, right? And what are we doing here? I mean, the whole idea is that we're working as a community for the same interest. So for me, it's very important that the stakeholders are at the table. We have a very transparent, durable decision that it's not us making based on what we think is right. That also has the legal backing of what our water rights state that we can do with them, and making sure that we are maximizing what our water right can allow us to do within the confines of what our stakeholders believe is environmentally and otherwise using our research to the fullest of its potential. So I want to say right now that that is desired for me. I think that's a non-negotiable, is that conversation will happen before any policy is decided on.
In a process of developing good public policy, that's an important feature of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe.
Would you anticipate a draft at that April 28th meeting? Or maybe a framework or something?
Possibly. We haven't fleshed. So April 28th is a regular meeting day for us. And so what I listed there is a work session. I was thinking about it today, and maybe that work session is before the meeting, right? So maybe it doesn't have what you're thinking, Commissioner. It might just be, we develop some questions, develop some topics and get feedback on them more versus the structure of it.
And I think something else that I would appreciate prior to that 28th meeting, there's a few things that I think maybe by the 14th that we can figure out. How much water are we really talking about? And are we willing to discuss and with our stakeholders that are involved in our tribal interest groups, are we able to say, we will look at or consider or have the conversation of, is there more water than what we have been dealing with in this last transfer? That I think is decision number one, because how much really does matter when you're talking about, are the needs of our current constituents or customers met? And if the answer is yes, and all the water is taken up, then we have another conundrum. I think that needs to be identified. And then I would like to also see the list of stakeholders that have been reached out to prior to that 28th meeting, to ensure that we all agree that all the stakeholders who have been invited to the table are in fact the stakeholders that we think should be reached out to. So again, just trying to have as transparent of a process as possible.
Let me just comment. So like the volume of water, the allocations and all those things, a lot of that is the detail that we should get into. Obviously, we're going to need to know that in order to come to a solution. But I'm thinking of, taking this at a higher level at first, where it's the overall goal without getting into that level of detail, and then getting there eventually, but getting that information, getting the feedback, getting the objective, trying not to limit ourselves by what our resources are just yet, right? Like we need to know that, and we need to know financial impacts, the resource that we have for water rights, all those other things. And I think that will feed into a lot of this, but trying not to get to an answer first, just trying to frame the question. So yes, but the stakeholders for sure. I was trying to think of everybody that may be on that list, and we got some ideas, and we'll discuss. Yeah, we'll let you know who those are. And if you have any other ideas, feel free to comment back.
Yep.
This may take longer. This is just what I'm thinking right now.
Good policy can take a long time.
We should do it right, not rush through it. I think is the important part.
Okay.
So we can start with this.
Yeah, no, that looks convenient.
Okay. And like I said, the April 28th work session, when we reach out to stakeholders, that might impact when we have it. So the timing of that and how it relates to the regular meeting, we'll have to figure out.
I mean, is that something we should have the discussion of? I'm completely open to doing a Tuesday or other day outside of our regular.
Before the meeting is when I
Before the
would
meeting.
ask.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure whoever we invite, whether they're going to be available at, 2:00 or 2:30 or something.
Or no, I mean,
April can be tough
I was
for me.
saying another Tuesday,
Oh, a different Tuesday.
a different Tuesday.
Yeah.
And yes, April definitely. If we
Yeah,
do
you
need to push that out to May 12th. Yeah, I mean, you have nothing
We could do,
going
yeah.
on in April. But yeah, so possibly maybe even moving that projected to May 12th might just
We'll have to be flexible for that.
Yeah.
So, but just kind of laying it out. We'll need some time to prepare for all this. So,
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it right.
So at the 14th, just clarification, the 14th will be kind of going back and looking at, what like legality wise water policy states for us, and then just kind of the goal setting, so that we're setting the stage for, just trying to get my head wrapped around what the 14th is going to look like.
asking questions about, why are we doing this? Something just as basic as that. Like, what's our objective? What are we trying to accomplish? Trying to start from that perspective, like really basic. And then even questions about the policy structure. What kinds of things should we include in there? Like, those kinds of discussions and trying to frame before we start plugging answers in.
Are there other PUDs that also have seasonal transfer policies?
This is very unique.
In
I think what we're
any
doing,
other state.
I think what we're doing is very unique. And I think that's what is presenting the biggest challenge. Like, we have very little to lean on. There's stuff going on in Central Washington for irrigation, but what they have set up is completely different. So it's a challenge. And I think that's why internally, especially, we feel like we need to slow this down a little bit, because we may be developing something completely new.
So George, you're saying that we're special and it's high stakes.
If you want to use those words,
Right, well, yeah. So I'm saying it. This is special. We're special and this is high stakes. So let's slow down and get it right.
Yeah.
I like this approach. I appreciate that. And it gives the three of us an opportunity to pull the end on cord and go deeper, or say we're in violent agreement, move forward, as far as we.
Well, and I want to reiterate too, I mean, like, the three of us do not just to reinstate, I know our staff knows this, but we do not talk or get to talk at all openly about any of these topics anytime besides in front of you right here. So it's really hard to twice a month have a conversation on something that has such a huge impact on our community without having, like, we're going to really have to set aside some time so that we can have these open discussions, because this is why we ran for office and this is why we're here. But anytime that we can bring things to a work session style, the order in which our formal meetings go don't offer a lot of conversation and response to, some of these heartfelt and really a lot of information taken when I want to ask questions and I can't. And I feel like for me, that's the hardest thing, because we can't have these conversations together when we need to be hearing all the same message, and somebody shouldn't have to play, repeat.
Yeah. And I think the last discussion we had, turned into a lot of just brainstorming publicly. It was probably more of a work session type discussion that we were having last time too. So
there were a lot of ideas thrown out, and then that's where you get to, like, okay, we're jumping to the solution part of it.
Yeah.
Where, it'd be nice to lean on some foundation and framework. So
Yeah, we can be in a hurry to solve problems because we're all problem solvers, but let's make sure it's the problem at hand that we're actually solving. So I think it's great. Yeah, we'll agree on the problem first, and then rest will flow. Good.
Okay. So
All right.
we'll work with this.
Sounds like any other comments, or questions, concerns, or allegations throughout here? All right.
Done.
Good. Seeing no new business, we've got some information in the packet there. All good stuff to shape and inform. Commissioner comments. If we go to the order.
I just want to emphasize how I appreciate how well we work together, and just that we're going to have some conversations that really impact our community in a very big way. And I appreciate your guys' commitment to being transparent and collaborative with our community. So thank you.
Just want to thank the irrigators for coming in. Appreciate your presence and noted. It's important. We'll get it right. Joe. All right. Nothing else. We will adjourn. Oh no, we're going to go into executive session to discuss potential litigation for RCW 4230 110 I and double I and 4230 110 L I and triple I.
5:30.
5:30. We will go into recess and then adjourn at 5:30.